"You're not my real daughter," my mother snapped, her words hitting me like a punch to the gut. I stood there frozen, my backpack slipping off my shoulder and crashing to the floor. Those 10 words changed everything in an instant. Just this morning, my life had seemed so normal. My caring dad making pancakes, my mom helping me pick out a shirt for the school day. Now their affection seemed like an illusion, shattered by my mother's harsh confession. I searched her face, hoping to find some hint of regret or softening in her icy blue eyes. Instead, I found only resentment simmering behind her glare. "What? What do you mean?" I stammered. "Of course I'm—" "Don't," she cut me off sharply. "Daniel may have been naive enough to believe I'd ever give birth to an ungrateful brat like you, but the truth had to come out eventually. Daniel, my dad, the man who had tucked me in every night with a kiss on the forehead, who had cheered louder than anyone at my soccer games, who had taught me how to ride a bike in our cul-de-sac, laughing each time I wobbled and fell. Why are you saying this?" I pleaded, tears stinging my eyes. "Dad loves me. I know he does." Karen scoffed. "You know nothing, you stupid girl. The moment your father naively presented you to me as our daughter, I knew you didn't belong to me. I went along with his charade for years, but I won't any longer." My hands trembled, and I felt the room start to spin. None of this made any sense. Just yesterday, Dad had proudly hung my straight-A report card on our refrigerator and given me a big congratulatory hug. And now, this? "Does Dad know?" I asked weakly, grasping for any foothold of understanding amidst the free-fall of confusion and pain. Karen straightened up, her lips curling into a cruel smile. "Of course not. As far as Daniel's concerned, you're his precious little girl. I'll let him keep believing his fantasy a little while longer. But you and I know the truth now." I shook my head in disbelief, hot tears spilling down my cheeks. My real mom, my only mom, was renouncing me as her daughter. The secure world I'd known had evaporated in an instant, destroyed by 5 small words. I wanted to melt through the floor and disappear. Instead, I met Karen's icy glare, my hands balling into fists. "You're lying. You have to be." She stepped towards me, her smile vanishing. "Still clinging to your pathetic little fantasy? Let me make myself clear, girl. I agreed to play along as your mother to humor Daniel, but I never wanted you as my daughter, and now that you're older, it's time you learned your place." Her words battered me like a hurricane, each one intent on destroying any last shred of belonging or identity I still clung to. "Please," I choked out through sobs. "Please take it back." "The truth hurts, doesn't it?" Karen replied coolly, "But lies will hurt much more in the end." With that, she turned and strode out of the kitchen, leaving me shaking amidst the wreckage of the life I thought I knew. I wanted to curl up and disappear, or else run after her screaming and force her to admit it was all a sick joke. Instead, I grabbed my backpack and fled out the front door, my vision blurred with tears. I had to find Dad. He would fix this. He had to. I ran down the street, turning onto the path through Wilson Park. Dad always walked this way home from the train station after work. I spotted his familiar figure in the distance, tall and lumbering in his business suit. "Dad!" I cried out, sprinting towards him. He turned, brow furrowing in concern as I collided with him, burying my face in his chest. "Hey, what's wrong?" he asked gently. "Mom, she... I choked on the words, the wound still too raw and bewildering to even speak. Dad wrapped his arms around me, hugging me close as I sobbed into his shirt. "It's okay, sweetheart. We'll figure this out together." But even cradled in his strong, comforting arms, part of me wondered whether we'd ever be able to piece our family back together again. Karen's words had cracked the very foundation we stood on. There was no going back now. Everything had changed. The next morning, I hesitated outside the kitchen, bracing myself before going inside. After fleeing from Karen's cruel revelation yesterday, Dad and I had spent hours talking in the park. He had listened patiently, promising we'd get through this together as a family. But while his reassurance soothed me, doubt still gnawed at my heart. I took a deep breath and stepped into the kitchen. Karen stood at the counter, scrambling eggs like it was any other morning. Dad sat at the table reading his tablet, hair still wet from the shower. "Morning, sweetheart," he said warmly as I slid into my seat. Karen didn't look up, continuing to scrape at the eggs in stony silence. Dad set down his tablet, smiling. "So your soccer team has a big game today, right, Marley?" Think you'll kick the winning goal again? Oh, maybe, I mumbled, picking at my sleeve. Karen dumped the eggs onto a plate and banged it down in front of me. She'd be lucky if she even makes the team at this rate, she snapped. With her lack of skill, she'll be riding the bench all season. I recoiled like her words were daggers, plunged straight into my confidence. Just yesterday, Dad had been telling me what a talented player I was. Hearing Karen belittle me so casually knotted my stomach. Oblivious, Dad chuckled. Oh, Karen, she led the league in scoring last season. I know she'll shine today. Karen said nothing, her face stone. The contrast between Dad's warm praise and her cutting remarks made my head spin. It was like two different people inhabiting one body, the loving mother I knew and this cold, cruel stranger. At school, I drifted through the day in a fog, unable to focus. By last period, my nerves were frayed. As I sat down in English class, my friend Lily slid into the desk beside me. You ready for the big game today? She asked, bumping my shoulder playfully. I made a huge Go Marley poster to hold up when you score. Despite my unease, I smiled. Lily had been my best friend since 3rd grade. Her bubbly warmth calmed my jangled nerves. Thanks, I said. Though I don't know if I'll score any goals today. Lily waved her hand dramatically. Oh, please, superstar. You got this. Just focus on fun. All that matters is we have each other's backs. Her sincere encouragement lifted some of the weight from my shoulders. With Lily, things were so easy. Not like at home, where each word hid an undertow of resentment and deceit. After school, Lily met me at my locker, practically vibrating with excitement. It's game time, Chica. Let's do this. Despite everything, I grinned. Lily's enthusiasm was infectious. As we walked out to the field, she kept up a constant stream of chatter and pep talks. With the whistle, the game began in a blur of action. My muscles carried me through the familiar motions almost on autopilot, but my mother's words kept intruding, throwing me off balance. You don't belong. You're not my daughter. I missed an easy pass, the ball skidding under my foot. Groaning internally, I raced after it. Come on, slowpoke, you got this. Lily yelled from the sideline. Gritting my teeth, I centered myself and regained control. I wasn't going to let Karen derail me that easily. As the game wore on, I found my focus. The thrill of the competition helped me tune out the doubts needling my mind. And when a pass slipped through the defense right to my feet, I struck without hesitation, driving the ball into the net. As cheers erupted, I felt that familiar glow of victory bloom in my chest. Maybe things weren't as broken as they felt. With time, even the most damaged pieces could be mended or cast aside to build something new. Dad and I were halfway through eating the pizza we had picked up on the way home from my soccer game when the phone rang. Oh, Karen must be working late again, Dad said, wiping tomato sauce from his mouth as he stood. I'll grab it in the other room. Be right back, sweet pea. I nodded, taking another slice as he left. I was still riding the high of my game-winning goal, pushing aside thoughts of Karen's cruel revelation from yesterday. Dad's voice rumbled from the other room, his tone hushed and urgent. My stomach knotted as I strained to hear what he was saying. A minute later, he hurried back in, his face pale. That was Dr. Miles, he said, voice tight. I need to get to the hospital right away. I stood quickly. What happened? Your mother collapsed at work, he said, already moving toward the front door. Her coworkers found her unconscious in her office. My breath caught in my throat. As much as Karen's words had stung, I couldn't bear the thought of her sick or in danger. Is she going to be okay? I asked shakily. I don't know yet, sweetie. I need you to stay here while I go find out what's happening. I'll call as soon as I can. Dad enveloped me in a fierce, brief hug, his fear palpable. Then he rushed out into the night. Alone in the kitchen, I sank into a chair, my slice of pizza forgotten. My thoughts swirled dizzyingly between Karen's coldness and concern for her well-being. As the hours ticked by, the silence in the house grew oppressive. I paced the halls, phone clutched in my sweaty hand as I waited for Dad's call, but the screen remained dark. Finally, footsteps outside signaled his return. I hurried to open the door, questions spilling out. Is Mom okay? What did the doctors say? Dad's expression stopped me cold. His eyes were red and hollow, like something vital had been extinguished within him. Dad? I whispered. What happened? He sank down onto the couch heavily, head in his hands. It was a brain aneurysm, he said, voice cracking. By the time I got there, She was already gone. The words dropped like a bomb, blasting my world apart. I swayed on my feet. No, that can't be right. Dad's shoulders shook with silent sobs. Feeling numb, I sat beside him on the couch. He wrapped me in his arms, and we clung to each other desperately amidst the wreckage of our shattered lives. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," he choked out. "I know how much you loved her." But instead of grief, my mind swirled with confusion. Karen hadn't loved me like a mother. She had made that brutally clear. So why did this loss feel so heavy and disorienting? Over Dad's shoulder, I stared at the pictures lining the fireplace mantel. Karen smiling next to me at my 5th birthday party. Karen cheering at my dance recital. Karen and I baking holiday cookies together, flour on our noses. Those captured memories blurred as fresh tears filled my eyes. However, she had really felt Karen was the only mother I had ever known, and now she was gone, leaving questions that could never be answered. Dad and I clung to each other long into the night, two castaways adrift on a sea of anguish and uncertainty. The mother I had thought I knew was gone. But the truth she had callously unearthed lived on, cracking the very bedrock of my life. Nothing would ever be the same. In the weeks after Karen's death, a heavy silence blanketed the house. Dad drifted through the days like a ghost, rarely speaking. At night, I often woke to the muffled sounds of him crying. With Karen gone, it felt like the bones of our family had been hollowed out, leaving behind only a fragile shell. I struggled to reconcile my grief over losing the mother I knew with the bitterness of her final words. One evening, about a month after the funeral, Dad called me into the living room. He sat hunched on the couch, dark circles under his eyes. "Marley, sweetheart, I need to talk to you about something." He took a shaky breath. "With your mother gone, I can't give you the care you need right now." I froze. "What do you mean?" Dad avoided my gaze. "Your Aunt Samantha told me about a boarding school just a few hours north. It's a nice place. They have counselors to help you adjust, among other services." My heart hammered. A boarding school? Now when we needed each other most? "Dad, no," I pleaded. "I want to stay with you. We can get through this together." He shook his head warily. "I'm doing what's best. Your aunt will take you up this weekend to get settled. A fresh start will be good for you." I fled the room so he wouldn't see my tears, his words echoing after me. A fresh start, without him. True to his word, that Saturday Aunt Samantha arrived to drive me away from the only home I'd ever known. Dad hugged me wordlessly at the door, his red-rimmed eyes saying what his voice could not. The school loomed like a fortress as we pulled up, all cold stone and iron gates. Aunt Samantha gave me a brisk hug. "Focus on your studies here. It's for the best." Then she drove away, leaving me alone on the sidewalk with my suitcase. My room was small and plain, the walls an icy gray. My roommate, a tall girl named Riley, gave me a cool once-over. "Welcome to purgatory," she said with a sardonic twist of her lips. Classes were rigid and strict. Teachers drilled facts into us for hours, allowing no chatter or distraction. In the eerie quiet of study hall, I scribbled a letter to Dad, pouring my heart out about how much I missed him and hated this soulless place. But weeks passed without a reply. The daily ache of missing him sunk deeper, like a bruise that would not heal. At night, while the other girls slept, I would sometimes creep to the window and stare out at the moon, wondering if Dad was also gazing at that same silvery light missing me. The days trudged by, slow and miserable. My only comfort was dreaming of the day Dad would realize his mistake and come take me home. But when Aunt Samantha visited that winter, she arrived alone, her smile not reaching her eyes. "This place is good for you," she said woodenly when I asked about Dad. "You just focus on settling in." Blinking back tears, I watched her car disappear down the snowy drive, leaving me imprisoned behind these wrought iron bars and stifling rules. The truth stood stark and cold before me. I had lost the only parent I had left, and I was powerless to change anything. But into that bleak void, a spark of defiance took flame in my chest. If no one was coming to save me, I would have to save myself. One way or another, I would take back my life and find the truth Karen had stolen. The days crawled by at a glacial pace in that lifeless school. Every minute felt heavy and interminable. I sleepwalked through classes, meals, and evenings in the dorms, numb to it all. The only thing that kept me putting one foot in front of the other was the flame of defiance burning inside. I promised myself that one day I'd leave this colorless place behind and find the truth my mother had tried to bury. So when Aunt Jenna showed up one dreary afternoon, I hardly dared believe it was real. I hadn't seen her since I was a child, but her warm, familiar smile lifted my spirits like a ray of sunshine piercing the clouds. "Surprise!" she said, sweeping me into a hug. "I've come to take you home." I leaned into her embrace, afraid if I let go this dream would dissolve around me. "Home?" I finally managed. Aunt Jenna planted her hands on her hips. "This dreadful place is no home for you, Marley. You should be back with your father, not locked away here." My heart leaped. "Does Dad know you're here? Is he coming too?" Her face fell slightly. "Not yet, but don't you worry, I'll make sure he comes to his senses soon." Her expression hardened with determination. "Because it's high time you learned the truth about why you were sent away." I followed her numbly out to her car, hardly daring to hope. As the school faded from view behind us, Jenna reached over and squeezed my hand. "I know these months have been terribly difficult and confusing for you, but I promise we'll set things right again soon." I nodded silently, not trusting my voice. After months of darkness, a fragile sprout of hope had taken root inside me. Jenna brought me to her cozy house, where the smell of freshly baked cookies enveloped me like a warm embrace. Over steaming mugs of hot chocolate, she finally revealed the secrets that had shrouded my past in shadow. "Your mother, Karen, was not the person she pretended to be. She and your father married quickly before he really knew who she was, and once you came along, things only got worse." Jenna took my hand, her eyes full of compassion. "She was cruel to you, Marley. She wanted you out of the picture so she could control your father's money." I sat very still, letting her words sink in. Karen's bitter remarks before her death suddenly made sense. Her rejection had been real, not some hallucination. Jenna sighed. "With Karen gone, I hoped your father would regain his senses and bring you home. But I'm afraid Karen's poison runs too deep. He truly believes this boarding school is best for you." I squeezed my eyes shut, holding back tears. To learn Dad had willingly abandoned me cut deeper than any wound. "Which is why," Jenna continued, her tone hardening, "we must take matters into our own hands. Starting today, we will find the proof we need to open your father's eyes to the truth." She hugged me fiercely. "I should have intervened years ago, but I won't fail you again. Whatever it takes, I will help you reunite with your real family." Jenna's revelations shed light on the shadows shrouding my past. The depth of Karen's betrayal took my breath away. But with those secrets exposed, I finally grasped the way forward. With Jenna as my ally, I would take back my life. No more passively accepting the hands I'd been dealt. The time had come to seek justice. Karen had tried to erase me, but she had failed. I was done being silenced and cast aside. My real life was waiting for me, and I intended to claim it. Over the next few weeks, Aunt Jenna and I dove into investigating the truth about my mother. Karen had tried to erase me, but her secrets couldn't stay buried forever. We started by digging through legal documents, looking for any sign of the lies and manipulation Jenna suspected Karen was guilty of. Hour after hour, we pored over property records, account statements, and more, searching for the missing piece that would make sense of it all. Late one night, bleary-eyed from staring at endless columns of numbers, I came across it. A bank statement for an account in Karen's name, with a balance that made my eyes go wide. "Aunt Jenna, look!" I showed her the statement, hands shaking. She had over $600,000 stashed away, but where did it all come from? Jenna's expression hardened. "Just as I feared. That money belongs to you and your father, not Karen." She squeezed my shoulder. "We're making progress, Marley. We'll find the rest, I know it." Bolstered, we redoubled our efforts. I scoured photo albums and diaries, seeking any clue that might expose Karen's secrets. The worn pages revealed little at first, just capturing mundane family moments, birthdays, holidays, vacations. But tucked in the back of one album, a photo fell out. My breath caught. It was Karen, kissing a man who was clearly not my father. Jenna's eyes flashed. "I think we have our smoking gun." The evidence mounted as we dug deeper. A questionable money transfer here, a hidden business transaction there. Piece by piece, we uncovered Karen's lies, like lifting fog to reveal the twisted paths she had taken. Standing strong beside Jenna, I felt powerful instead of powerless for the first time in years. We would drag Karen's wrongdoings into the light, no matter what it took. I would make my family see the truth. Late one night, Jenna finally voiced what we were both realizing. Karen wanted you gone completely, Marley. With you and your father out of the picture, she planned to seize his money and disappear. Jenna clenched her fists. She almost succeeded. Cold fury coursed through me at her words. Karen had nearly stolen my whole life just to serve her greed. But I wouldn't let her win, not after coming this far. What do we do? I asked Jenna. Her eyes blazed with conviction. We're going to take our evidence to your father. He will see that the woman he loved was just an illusion, and then we will settle the score, once and for all. Jenna gripped my hands, her voice heavy with emotion. I won't let my sister's cruelty destroy your future, Marley. You deserve so much more than the wreckage she left behind. It's time for the truth to come out. All of it. The pieces had finally come together, revealing the colossal web of deceit my mother had woven. She had nearly succeeded in dismantling everything that mattered to me. But her games ended here. Everything Karen had tried so hard to bury would come to light, and justice would be served. She would not control my destiny from beyond the grave. I was done being silenced and pushed aside. With Jenna by my side, I would take back my life, no matter what it cost. The time had come to punish the culprit who had delivered me such unforgivable betrayals. Karen's judgment day was coming at last, and I would relish every moment of watching her world come crashing down. The day had finally arrived. Aunt Jenna and I were ready to confront my father and finally expose the depth of my mother's lies. My heart pounded as we pulled up outside his house. Jenna gave my hand a fierce squeeze before we stepped out of the car. Stay strong, she urged. After today, your life will be set right again. I nodded, steeling myself as we approached the front door where so many happy memories lingered, now bittersweet. Dad opened it before we could even knock, his weary eyes widening in surprise. Marley? What are you? How did you? She's here for the truth, Daniel, Jenna interjected, stepping forward. The real truth, not the fiction Karen led you to believe. Dad blinked at her in confusion, but stepped back to let us in. My stomach was a mess of nerves and anticipation as I followed Jenna down the familiar hallway into the living room. Jenna spun to face my father, her expression fiery. I know you believe sending Marley away was best, but Karen manipulated you like she always did. Her words cracked like a whip. It's time you open your eyes to who she really was. What are you talking about? Dad asked hoarsely. By way of reply, Jenna snatched up the photo album from the coffee table and opened it to the incriminating photo of Karen kissing her lover. Dad staggered back like he'd been struck. No, he choked out. This can't be real. I'm afraid it is, Jenna replied. Karen was unfaithful for years, and it goes far deeper than that. She proceeded to lay out all that we had uncovered, the hidden accounts brimming with money, Karen's plans to abandon her family and start over. With each new revelation, Dad seemed to crumble further until finally he collapsed into a chair, head in his hands. My God, he gasped. How could I not have seen? Jenna kneeled beside him, her tone softening. She fooled us all, Daniel, but now you know her true nature. She beckoned me forward. Karen tried to erase Marley from your lives, but she's your real family, and she needs you now more than ever. Dad raised his head, eyes shining with tears. Marley, sweetheart. I'm so sorry, he choked out. Can you ever forgive me? I rushed into his arms, hugging him fiercely as we both cried. Of course, Dad, I said. I just want to come home. He held me tight, shoulders shaking. You should never have been sent away. We'll be a family again, I promise. At long last, the terrible veil over my father's eyes had been lifted. He finally saw through the intricate web of lies my mother had spun to conceal her misdeeds. Her poisoning manipulation had nearly succeeded in separating us forever. But today, justice had prevailed. I had reclaimed my place in my family, the place Karen tried so viciously to deny me. No matter what she had schemed and plotted, I had emerged triumphant, tearing down the facade of her betrayal. The girl Karen had coldly cast aside so long ago had now brought her duplicity screeching into the light. Whatever came next for our family, we would face it together, without the sinister cloud of Karen's deceit hanging over us. In the weeks after that emotional confrontation, Dad and I slowly patched our broken family back together. With Karen's deceit exposed, we focused on healing. Dad formally withdrew me from the boarding school, instead enrolling me in a local high school. My first day back, immersed in normal classes and chatter, felt like awakening from a long, lonely dream. After school, Aunt Jenna would often stop by with home-cooked meals that filled the house with delicious aromas and warmth. In the evenings, Dad and I played board games or watched movies, rekindling the simple connection we had lost. Bit by bit, our wounds began to mend. Laughter came more easily as we left Karen's darkness behind. Ahead lay a future bound with trust and light. But while Karen was gone, the damage she had inflicted lingered. We soon faced difficult decisions about how to seek justice posthumously. With Jenna's help, Dad initiated legal proceedings to seize the accounts and assets Karen had hidden away. Stripping her estate of those ill-gotten funds could never undo the pain she'd caused. But it was a start. As we sat together signing the paperwork, Dad squeezed my hand. "This is for you, sweetheart," he said quietly, "for the childhood she tried to steal from you." I blinked back tears and nodded. This act offered some balm to the ache of rejection Karen's spiteful revelations had left. With the legal actions underway, we also had to contend with the social fallout of her deceit. Dad issued a simple statement exposing her infidelity and betrayal to our wider family and community. The truth rippled out, casting Karen's memory in a sinister new light. Former friends and neighbors looked at Dad and I with pity rather than the judgment or blame I'd feared. Slowly, the broken shards of our lives were being glued back together. Scars would remain, but they were scars we now carried together, rather than alone. On the anniversary of the confrontation, Dad suggested a small ceremony, to honor the closure this brought and set intentions for the future, he explained. I readily agreed, moved by the symbolism. We stood before Karen's grave on a brisk autumn day, leaves crunching underfoot. Dad spoke a few solemn words about pain and reconciliation. Then he turned to me. "Do you want to say anything?" I stepped forward, remembering again that biting winter day when Karen had first hissed those poisonous words. "You tried to destroy this family," I said quietly. "But in the end, we survived. Your hatred only made us stronger." I squeezed my eyes shut, recalling the years lost to her manipulation and cruelty. Then I opened them, gazing ahead at the hopeful horizon stretching before me and Dad. "Goodbye, Karen," I whispered. "Your hold on us ends today." Leaving the cemetery, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The quest for justice I'd once burned for no longer consumed me. In its place flowered something sweeter, hope for the days yet to come. Karen had sought to control my fate, but her plan had failed. The truth had not destroyed us, but instead freed us to reconnect as a family. Walking hand in hand with Dad that day, I let go of the last faint shadow Karen's memory still cast. Her time was past. Ahead lay the future I would shape myself, filled with light.